Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Chronogo bringing you some more Cosmonarchy casting, some more Tribunal stage coverage. I hope you guys are having a good day so far today. We are going to be looking at some of the quarterfinal matchups and, of course, the first semifinal matchup. So it'll be interesting because we already know one of those participants and we'll find out the other after our first cast. So 4 series coming at you, all best of 5. Looking forward to seeing how many of them go 5 games, and maybe there will be a few 3-0s in here. We'll have to find out together. I see we got some Kasuga, Fox, and Godwheat-oriented people in the chat. Hope you guys are just fine over there. Of course, I'll take the opportunity here in a moment to show you all what I am cooking as far as the format of this is concerned. Go ahead and take a look at our brackets so far, I think. Of course, we should also properly start the YouTube video. Also, I feel like I'm very bright today on camera, but I'll show you guys what happens if I turn the brightness down. I think we get some problems. I mean, that's more true color, but then if I move like... oh, I guess you can't see it anymore. That's weird. Whatever, it's fine now. Look at that. Magical. Much better. No longer am I blinding. Someone told you that I look French. No, I am Irish and Italian, so I guess not the farthest thing geographically, but kind of the farthest thing culturally while still being European. All right, go back to where Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Cosmonarchy casts, and that means we're going to go into the next phase of our Tribunal stage. We do have a little bit of an unfortunate thing to report, which is that, as you can see here, Shopkeeper Dog did have to concede in his quarterfinal, so I Am the Way to God is moving into the semifinals match. He will face off against the winner of Doglived, a fellow Escozi player, and Kasuga, a Protoss player, who is going to be our first matchup in the quarterfinals. So after the first cast, after this very cast, we will know who's going to meet in the semifinals there alongside Wheat. Shopkeeper Dog could not end up making it happen. However, he did successfully make it so that the Shambler was not the top seed in the tournament and then bowed out. What a legend. Hopefully he will be back soon. On the lower side of the bracket here, or the other side of the bracket, it's all still single elimination, of course. Quarterfinal number 2. Well, that's quarterfinal number 2, but we're going to call it quarterfinal number 2 in the overlay. Quarterfinal number 3 is Nebulime versus Top Ramen, Protoss versus Terran Action, a storied matchup in Cosmonarchy. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, we have another Protoss versus Terran matchup. Smarty Cakes' Protoss, making the upset over AOT, is going to face off against the Shambler. If everything goes according to seeding, we'll actually see a Nebulime and Shambler rematch in the semifinals, which is usually a grand final of way back when. So I'm interested in seeing how all of that comes together. But I am going to be seeing some action beforehand from our Escozi player here, the top-rated Escozi player in the server, It's Doglived, taking on Kasuga, who is also in chat. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Kasuga reactions to Kasuga playing. Let's get into it. Off in the top left of our first map here, it is Corrosion, and Doglived is our Delft Blue, Dark Sapphire. It was Dark Sapphire the whole time. Rainaril, a Escozi player. Shout out Rainaril one time. Kasuga in the bottom right seems to be... I feel like this isn't orange, but it's also definitely not pumpkin. I'm going to say orange. It was orange. Sometimes you don't trust yourself, you know. It's going to be the orange Protoss going gateway into the function of Doglived. We'll see how that starts to take shape. I also think that, yeah, there it is, Kasuga in the chat. My feeling, I hate all Escozi players. So I don't know if that, tells us what's to come here, but I'm sure Doglived has some fun action planned. He was definitely the one who thought about the Escozi the most, bayed for them to be released. He was so happy when they finally showed up. He was our inaugural Escozi player in the Juggernaut match that he went 1v5 against. It was pretty outrageous. He obviously rocked up and participated in that during the Biddy Birthday Bash there. So Biddy Birthday Bash is a Tibby tongue twister. I don't know. What would you say about that? Double function open versus Protoss makes some sense because you do want that armor pen from the Rove, for example. Kasuga going Gateway Lattice. I wonder if this is sort of like what you could consider a modified PvT opener, where you get like the one vassal to try to force anti-air. The trouble is that roves can attack air, so I don't know if that's the best course of action versus a function opening Escozy. I should also mention that we don't really know how the Escozy matchups really navigate, at least not the Protoss one. The versus Zerg one has definitely seen some more general development, and it seems somewhat Escozy favored in the early game, but they can struggle once the Shroud comes out. So I'll be interested in seeing where we go from here in all of the Escozy matchups. Sadly, as you guys saw in that opening little sequence where I showed you guys the bracket, there will be no Zerg players making it deeper into the tournament. Our Zerg players AOT and Cannoli were defeated in their opening rounds. Now, Kasuga's Legionnaire is going to get in here and start attacking the Rove. It can't really do anything, even if you don't micro it, just because... Well, actually, it can win. It will win if you don't micro it, thinking about it. Hold on. You kind of want to do stuff like that where you really get away. And look at that. Jumps to a structure, starts up his healing process, and, of course, gets away from the issue. Also increases his speed for a short time when he does that jump. So that kind of makes sense. I think Doglived was trying to see if the healing of the Rove impact dissipation would cause any trouble in the process. Looks like we have Kasuga running home with his Legionnaire. He's got a Hierophant, double Manifold, a Legionnaire number 2 as well. I do feel like Hierophant with anything is going to help deal with Roves pretty nicely. You can micro back with it, but you almost don't want the Lattice units. Right? Oh, Fast Golem. I mean, I guess they won't ever kill it, but they don't have any crowd control to proc the Golem shield passive, so I don't know if that's the best move there. Function number 3 on the way. I glossed over it, but the Gauntlet is on the way as well, and we have this little spot up here waiting for Kasuga to dare to brave the ramp. Meanwhile, our Protoss player does seem pretty hell-bent on just producing a lot of units off of 4 production structures. You know, on the one hand, Lattice units are cheaper, but on the other hand, they train faster, so it's still the same effective amount of money that you're investing into your wartime spending as opposed to your economy. And he's going to try to charge forward, but as we see there, the Rove count up to 9. Oh, he's actually going to pull the trigger, so this is a thing that the Roves can do. They can kind of self-accelerate. Now, the attack speed increase does help out a little bit in this skirmish. Focus Fire also coming out there for Kasuga. You see the Manifolds starting to be picked apart initially instead of those Hierophants, but there's no armor on the Rove, so it almost doesn't really matter. Now, that Focus Fire absent there for just a moment does mean that the Hierophant will likely go down without getting too much more in the form of security. He does scout Gauntlet evidence. The Intendant does require the Gauntlet in order to be made. But I don't know if Kasuga knows that much about the race. And yeah, he also came in and saw that the landlock is indeed on the way. So, interesting stuff. Kasuga's a huge bank himself. Does look to plan a Nexus here. Yeah, there we go. Starting to add some Zealots in. I think Escozy have a hard time with Zealot Ecclesiast. It's funny because I was talking about how Kasuga looked like he was doing a modified PvT build or even PvP build where you're going to go for those Manifolds for the armor pen. But you typically want the flexibility that you have versus Zerg where you can go for a more sustain-oriented compositions. Is Protoss just flatly sustain better in the middle of a fight than Escozy do? Escozy are meant to be like, we can do tricky harassment things, we can do tricky... you know, different angles here and there on a bunch of our units, mobility in the middle of a battle, and try to escape, take a hit and run, that kind of thing. It's less about the sustained combat that Protoss has us there, and they've kind of cornered the market on that. A couple of Vassals coming in to see what they can do on the heckling. We don't have any static defense over here. Cypher on the way. This unlocks a couple more units out of the different production structures you can make, but most importantly, it will unlock the Tier 2 set of structures that you can make. And there's a lot more development for the Escozy still planned. In fact, their Tier 3 doesn't exist yet, and their Tier 2 is not fully implemented. They're missing 2 units that will be added in some short order. But they're not available for this tournament, and yet still, it seems like the Escozy game plan is somewhat showing up. Now, here is a really nice little move from Kasuga. Obviously, he's going to struggle to break down this army, and he's not really focus firing super well, but the Vassals are putting Dogliv's army on a bit of a timer, right? He's kind of like making sure that, okay, if you're going to move out, you're going to lose a couple of workers in the back line, and it looks like 2 or 3 workers did go down to those Vassals, so it wasn't nothing. But it seems like Dogliv's decision to just march across the map has changed what Kasuga's priorities are. I do feel like he's taking a wild attack. Grand Library only now coming in. Intendants are pretty good anti-armor, and the Robes, you can see, Dogleft's really in hot pursuit, trying to do those moving shots with them. Takes a little bit more micro than, for example, the Vulture. But the Intendants have that bounce and that anti-armor damage, so it's looking pretty nice to have a little bit of crowd control here. And we don't have really anything. It's only Manifolds and a single Draken, and what's this about? Trying to use Manifolds as the combat unit, not exactly the best choice. While it does ignore the armor of the Intendant, it clearly doesn't pack enough of a punch on its own. And again, it looked like Kasuga wasn't exactly focus firing there. I think based on what I'm seeing in the production tab, he's actually going for an Envoy for a Storm Drop, but that would make sense if his front gate wasn't about to be cracked open by a few Escoza units here and there. Pulling the Scribes, they'll never kill Robes, but they might be able to help break down the Intendants at the very least. Albeit with, big worker deficit now. And this is something that Kasuga is going to have to come back with that Storm Drop if that is indeed what he's doing. Ardent Authority behind everything else, but he's only now making the Cantavis. This one feels like it's a wrap. It feels like our Escozi player is going to be able to close this one out somewhat comfortably. Behind it, he's adding the Proscenium for Tier 2 Biotic production. Also adding a couple of Scepters and occasional other units, including an Object here and there, try to, muscle through all of the Protoss lines, but I mean, there's not really that much here, and even when those Draconid step out to try to shove this off and save the Nexus, look at what it's costing him. Hasn't been able to make workers out of this bad boy for so long, and reinforcements swing on down, really closing the door on this base. No GG, Kasuga just leaves, and that, my friends, is a slightly salty Protoss, losing to what felt like a very straightforward game plan out of Dogleft. Let's see what happens in Game 2, because this matchup is not over. Yeah, I have to agree with what Fox said about Manifold spam. I feel like in general it's not the greatest choice. Kasuga might have just been experimenting a little bit. Because that's not something that I think you can really make work. What's going on, Shane? Smarty there. Stream lagging for him because he's a noob. Just show me his build so I can copy it. Just download the replay, dude. You got it. You can do it. I believe in you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Game 2 is now on your screens. Kasuga, the Sunglow? Beige Protoss. I wasn't sure what color that was, but I was thinking Sunglow because of the slight recolor on this tile set. And Dogleft is Dark Sapphire again, of course. And he is a Escozi, also, of course. So, bottom right versus bottom left. Gilded Wall is map number 2. This is Kasuga's map pick. Oh yeah, I actually have the vetoes pulled up somewhere that I can go ahead and take a look at here. Or I would, but then it says this content is no longer available because it was in my browser history. Yeah. Well, that's all right. I'll find it later. But what I can tell you is that that lattice plate wasn't the greatest versus the function-based moves. We did get some color from Kasuga in the chat where he said that because of the HP buff, he thought maybe they'd be a good spam unit. I don't think that's ever going to quite be true for the Manifold. It is definitely more of a supportive unit. Every time it attacks, it gives armor penetration in an aura, and it does stack with the number of Manifolds you have. So obviously, I mean, there's no unit that has like 30 armor, right? So are you really going to get much value from having 30 Manifolds? Not really. They are an okay mid-range unit, but they do get outscaled pretty quickly by other stuff. Love the gateway placement here. Very safe. And this is probably Jujik's worst nightmare because he just moved the mineral fields down on this map so that it wouldn't interrupt, the pathing stuff wouldn't be an issue. And now Protoss players are just building production closer to that spot to make it so that the rallies might automatically send them to the minerals. Whew. I don't know about that one. Now, 2 gateway into the Rogue Gallery is something that, honestly, Dogleft, back when he was playing Protoss, definitely foresaw this sort of thing. And now, there's a couple of things that you can do against this as a Escozi. First of all, you can make a Proselyte. It's got an eyelet little ward that you can use to deploy and detect. It can also pull units to give them the relocation and the impact dissipation passive there. Very fast gauntlet over here for the build. And, second function, about 3/4 of the way completed before that gauntlet goes down. It's just a pretty straightforward thing. We also saw Dogleft get the Arch, which is the Ridge Cap, fairly early. It helps, too, that you can kind of rush up to Tier 2 pretty quickly, which means you can actually get your abutment, which is the gas, the geyser cap there. You can get access to that probably the quickest out of any race, besides obviously the Protoss, given that they don't have the tech requirement in the same way. They technically get access to it from the gateway, right? But the bottom line is that it's very, very easy. It's not as expensive as the Aquifer. So, I don't know. It's interesting. Something that we'll have to see what the Escozi end up doing. Typically, their structures tend to be cheaper on minerals and gas, but more expensive in terms of time. And then you kind of make up some of that with the power building or not. Depends on really your case-by-case situation. Now, the Beige Kabbalist moving across the map, targeting Doglived. And look at this. I wonder if there's an aspect to his lineup here that is deliberate anti-Kabbalist tech. One thing that is worth pointing out is that you can use the Kabbalist to jump to one of the units in the back, but you will decloak when you do that, and it's not like it one-shots the Rove either, so... oh, well, I guess that's pretty bad too. He's just going to slip right in. The collision, not quite what he was hoping for, but oh my god! The Pilgrim has 1 armor! Oh, you should have brought a manifold. Oh... Oh, God. Kabbalist Barguest required to one-shot workers. Holy shit. I bet nobody thought that was going to happen. I totally forgot about that breakpoint. Cypher coming out. So this is a bit of a faster tier 2 play here from Doglived, unless he just really wants, to go Intendant into Scepter. His first couple Intendants are coming. Now, the Kabbalist is sneaking back in. There's a lot of Legionnaires. Not so many other units here, you'll notice. And look at that. He actually boxed him in there with the units. Great micro. Puts down the landlock. Now, this one could be in some danger here. If these were mostly Zealots, I feel like Kasuga could just run over the army. But as it currently stands, this might still end up going okay for the Protoss. We'll keep those Roves selected. Need to see that focus fire, and it's kind of coming in. Honestly, the Hierophants tagging the Intendants ain't bad either, though. It's really weird, because you want to pick a target and stick with it. And it does feel like that Escozi army is struggling to make any ends meet here. The rush to tier 2 on top of going for that expansion may have cost Doglived a little bit of momentum that he otherwise really would have liked to hold on to. I think with these reinforcements coming, it might be a wrap already. And Kasuga using Ecclesiast. What are you going to do with those Pilgrims, buddy? You can't take them out. The Hierophants increasing the attack speed. All the workers running out. Doglived with a capital GG knows he's been bested by the Kasuga Rush. And that means we are tied up a piece. Now, okay, so far, it's a little bit light on the analysis. I'm not seeing a lot of things that besides stuff that gets solved pretty early on into matchups, right? Don't spam the manifold. And then, when you're talking about the Escozi side, you got to watch out for that just, more gateway-oriented rush. I think we're going to see a different opener from both players going into Game 3, and I guess we'll just start talking about it when it happens. yeah, he just did one swipe and then left. It was pretty funny. I really liked the game that you lost. That was a good game. Okay, let's do it. Going into Game 2 here. Or Game 3, actually. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Game 3. It is Doglived versus Kasuga. Around and round we go. Protoss has tied us up after a very quick game, but I don't think this will be the same way. We're on Quasar Quartet. It is a 4-spawn map, and we are cross-spawn. It kind of tells me that we are going to be good to go as it pertains to, the jolly good times we can have on cross-spawn maps. I really don't think it's going to be a rush. Doglived, of course, Dark Sapphire once more, and Kasuga in the bottom left is just teal. Just standard old teal from Starcraft 1. Some of those colors occasionally show up just because it is random. Feels like with Doglived going for the function build again, he really wants to just stick to his guns there. The one alteration we've seen in Game 2 was him trying to do it a little bit faster. Interesting choice. 2 gateways. This is obviously the big change for Kasuga. He did just go for a more gateway-heavy build. I did like the cute little move where while he was waiting for function money, he power built a little bit. Why not? You get like 1 or 2 seconds faster. Somebody will math that out and actually, do it deliberately. That would be like a shopkeeper move. Shopkeeper did play a lot of Escozi, but he still signed up to this tournament as Terran and then just couldn't make it due to scheduling. I wonder what he will do in the future. Is he going to stick with Terran? Is that his true destiny? Hi, Doglove is in the chat. What's up? Somehow I missed him earlier. And Kiro, the driver, asks, has anyone counted the totality of all the units in Cosmonarchy? Well, I think on average it's about like 40-something, 48 or something like that per race. I say on average because technically I think all of the 3 original races have 50, but Escozi are kind of dragging down the average until I finish them up. So you're probably close to 200 if you're not counting factional stuff. If you are, then it's, I don't know, dude, 220 probably. A lot of units. And that's just the units, by the way. That's not the structures. Oh, I love this little micro dance that he's doing with the Rove, trying to keep the Pilgrim healed and taxing that Legionnaire. Unfortunately, he was not orb walking, so the Pilgrim will give his life, but I dig it. Oh, one more shot, too, and he would have denied the Scout. The Radix is a pretty big deal here. I do got to say, it's really cool to see Doglived doing the jump to speed up the Roves for hot pursuits. It's something that is super in line with their, you know, idea of what the Rove is and what it could be. So thematically, it feels very appropriate. It looks like Ecclesiast Legionnaire is still going to be the main course of action for Kasuga. However, he has added in another Kabbalist. Looks like he just wants to, you know, incite a little violence, have a little bit of chaos here. Function number 3, no tech this time, no gauntlet. He's actually going with Cardinals for that healing. Wants to maybe get that sustained action before the Protoss hits a critical mass. Now, remember, Doglived himself has no idea where Kasuga is, except for maybe the fact that he doesn't know he's top left. He seems to be trying to move towards the top left, thinking that that's where he is. Oh, he did the tech there for a moment. That's what he was just doing there. Now, he's definitely not going to be watching for the Kabbalist moving into his base here. Oh, well, he knows now, so he can definitely grab those units from the ramp. One worker going down. I guess if you don't come in with 2 Kabbalists, it's kind of pointless, comparatively. He actually just tried to attack there with that Cardinal. He's being heckled at the front. I don't think you want to... Yeah, that's a little bit rough. You don't really want to be losing your Cardinal that quickly. Now, thankfully, it seems like Kasuga's micro with the Kabbalist is not the best. So he got the 1 worker kill so far. He's caused a little bit of trouble. And look at that. He just right-clicks a unit for a second, and then you're done. You're donezo, boy. So no hope there. Kasuga still needs to go back to the drawing board on that one. And now it looks like it's the Escozi's turn to defend once again. But this army doesn't look as deadly as before. I know we don't have the Intendants, but we don't really have that much with armor on the other side anyway. The Intendants themselves aren't going to help out too much. The Roves and the Cardinals are going to definitely be able to sustain through some of this action. We'll see if Kasuga wants to pull the trigger anytime soon. Nexus and Landlock for those expansions seem to be coming in at similar times. So that's pretty cool. Might end up getting that macro game we were hoping for after all. And a Charlatan is on the way, but Kasuga's pulling the trigger beforehand, trying to get those Cardinals out. And they're doing their jobs, right? They're peeling for the Escozi Rove so that they can still keep that attacking going. Zealots are definitely rebuffing a lot of these attacks, though, it must be said. They're taking so damn long to finally bring down. The Roves really need to focus them. And there you have it. Now it looks like Kasuga's attack force has been broken back, and we will be having 3 Legionnaires a pop, a Pylon, oh my god, and an Embassy. So I'm guessing he's going to be switching it up. Maybe wants to go for a Witness to see where his opponent is. Kasuga's usually very good at using Witnesses, making a lot of them. I don't know how often he actually clicks on his Witnesses to see what his opponents are doing, but he puts them in the right spot. He's got the instincts there. And I love this little trick here. You know, the Nexus ended up getting started at around the same time as the Landlock, so the Landlock should finish way later, but we do have that 1 extra worker power building it. Grand Library. Okay, it's going to be that Storm Drop again. That's what we saw the beginning motions of in Game 1 back on Corrosion. More missionaries coming in for a little bit of general DPS. I think it makes a lot of sense to fill missionaries in if your opponent is going for, like, Legionnaire Ecclesiast. I don't think that build will stay around for too long, but the reason why it's really good is because neither of those units have armor. And the Hierophant only has 1. The Dracodon, 2, Zealot, 3 until it loses shields, then it's 2. I mean, these are really hard units to try to deal with. Now, the rove count is really high. We're talking almost 20 of them, and I do think it might be the same situation as Game 1, where Kasuga is teching up to try to get what he can get, and then he ends up just getting bowled over by the rove count, and the sheer number of them is causing a lot of problems for what Kasuga is building. He's not going for crowd control early enough, it feels like. I don't think a storm would help out too much here, and he's not even going to be going for that anyway. Went for the rogue gallery, the Kabbalist investment didn't pay off, wasn't able to get any eco damage, and once again an OGG is called, arriving right before the static defense comes in, and arriving before the tech. That's Dogliv's ticket out of any defeats going forward, so long as he can avoid the gateway all-ins. Well, he posts up series point, and this is single elimination. Kasuga's got one more chance to keep extending his life forward. Will he go tit for tat and bring us to game 5? Yeah, the Rove is definitely... I feel like that's a unit that people will either think is useless or overpowered. No in between. It'll be interesting to see what comes next out of that. Okay, map 4 is Impulsion. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our series continuing. Kasuga is in the bottom right as the Glacial Protoss, and Doglived is in the top left as the Dark Sapphire, Ascozi. Apparently, I was given the replays in a bit of a funky order because evidently Gilded Wall was actually game 1. So Kasuga started off the series owning with gateways, and then Corrosion was Doglived's adjustment. So the adjustment was don't rush to tier 2 too fast, basically. Don't go for like Gauntlet, Expand, Cypher, that sort of thing. That was the adjustment. I thought the adjustment was the other way around. So just wanted to clarify. That's a little bit funky. That's okay. We just kind of roll with the punches. Oh!
Buff ASKOS5.
You know what? We need to teach that text-to-speech how to say Ascozi. Godweed, thank you for $10 towards our tournament goal. We're funding for a 2v2 tournament. So if you want to support that, streamlabs.com/chronogo. If you want to support project development more generally, you can go ahead and donate on the coffee page. Chronogo in week 7 is the coffee page. All right, it's another 3-gate from Kasuga. This one's pretty standard as an opener versus Zerg. You hold back some of your units. You Zealot Ecclesiast all the way through. But Kasuga really likes the Legionnaire, at least as this first unit. I actually think it's fine to go like Legionnaire versus Ascozi, right? I think it's fine to go like Legionnaire, Hierophant, and then Zealot Ecclesiast. You know, you want a little bit of something to deal with like small Rove attacks coming in if they're going to try to do something cheeky in the early game. What's funny is that Doglived has kind of mostly just been building up an early force and then attacking with a ball that Kasuga's like trying to tech out of. But no, it's actually going to be a 4-gate. Okay. You know, I kind of favor this. I think this play should be fine. But I will note that he's like got downtime on the second gateway for some time. You know, like it's not the most... Listen, this to me looks more like it's a... Not gateway, not 4-gate. It's a 4-rage. You know, he's rage way. That's what he's doing. Gate rage? I don't know. Something like that. We'll come up with a good name. This is Impulsion, by the way, a Biddy B map. Quasar Quartet also was. Corrosion also was. Gilded Wall, the only Jujuk map featured so far. I haven't read ahead of the replays that I was sent to see what Game 5 is, so if it is indeed, you know, admins will send me like a dud game if it's incomplete series. But I don't even know which map that is, so we'll have to find out together. It's not Main Street, I know that much. Now, we have the Ecclesiasts, the Legionnaires, as opposed to Zealots, and a second Hierophant. I think 2 Hierophants is fine. You stack up the passive pretty well on focus-fired targets. You can also, you know, that gives you attack speed when the unit dies. If it's a tanky unit, which doesn't really apply in the Ascozi case, it also reduces their attack speed. But typically what you're doing with that is just trying to focus it down so you get that benefit. He's going for a 3rd Hyro. I really think he should just be making Zealots. I know he's got a lot of gas, but, you know, you can adjust that too. You can just pull him off and go for a Nexus or something, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see, because, you know, he made it work on Gilded Wall in what was Game 2 for us, but Game 1 for the players. So I feel like that'll be fine. But it is just triple function, and the Cardinals have been soaking up a lot of damage and also healing when they attack any unit around them, including themselves. So that helps out as well in these longer fights. And if the Roves just kind of mulch through the Legionnaires, then you don't really have much to protect the backline because they also don't have a lot of... It's not like they have enough armor to riposte the Roves. And it's also not like they have enough mobility to escape without, I guess, maybe the Hierophant, but Douglas has already shown that he can do the hot pursuit move. The need for speed is with them. We haven't been able to really sink our teeth into a proper, like, 20-minute long macro game or anything, so I'm hoping that Impulsion can deliver for us in that respect. This is a 2-spawn map, so the players know where they each other are. Expansions on both sides. Kasuga's is a little bit later, off of 4 gateways, too. So you suspect he has the bigger army, the better army. Maybe not bigger because he's Protoss, but better because he's Protoss. But again, it's a lot of Legionnaires. It really is a lot of Legionnaires. And going for Embassy behind it. I mean, going for a drop here wouldn't suck if that's what he's going to be doing. I suspect he's going to do like Pylon Grand Library again. And he'll just set up a little bit of a containment for Doglip to try to break. And see the Legionnaires are being hunted. Now the Ecclesias get in the face. Immediately goes for that attack speed buff, which is working out quite nicely for him thanks to all his Hyros. Frontline starting to melt here for Doglip. He needs to cycle back with only 11 Roves left in the pocket. Cardinal. Well, he's got a couple of them still. All the Ecclesias have gone down, so it should be pretty easy now. Oh, one of them was on a follow order. That's a little bit awkward. Should be pretty easy now for the Roves to just deal with all those Legionnaires. Yeah, this is looking like it's a little bit too easy for Doglip's unit comp, right? Kasuga's still opting into those short-range fights. Hierophants are giving the attack speed initially, but when the Ecclesias can't keep the Legionnaires alive, then all of a sudden there's not enough damage to actually deal with the Roves. So you do need to be able to focus fire them, and you do need to be able to stop them from just kind of bypassing the incoming front line like this. And it only takes one, because then they can all jump to him. We're kind of seeing that as we speak. Now, the Legionnaires are coming out. They are attack speed increased for just a moment. This might still be able to be riposted, but I'm not so sure, because again, the focus fire is not exactly there with only a few Legionnaires. He's got 4 more coming, but this is just too many units out of Doglived. Looks like Kasuga needs a little bit more time practicing versus the Ascozi, making him look OP. Maybe they are. Maybe they do need to be nerfed instead of buffed. Now, Doglived has definitely played this pretty well. Obviously, I say this as he's got 1,300 minerals. So, his APM's high, though. His APM is definitely high. Maybe the Roves can go after the Envoys. Now, it looks like that might be enough for the Legionnaires to clear out the Roves, but he's lost all of his workers, and there's more reinforcements coming in as well. Again, no GG is called. Kasu no GG, and that will be Doglived. Wow, moving forward. I mean, even that game didn't necessarily even feel like a series point exactly. There's very open and shut case here where the adaptations weren't quite there, especially knowing the context that Gilded Wall was actually game 1. It's like Kasuga walked in, won game 1 in 5 minutes, and then spent the rest of the series not quite able to figure out what comes next. What is the next point of development? Doglived moves on to face I Am the Weed of God, which means we will be seeing Ascozi versus Ascozi, where both Ascozi is both weak and also strong. OP and also please buff. So, thanks for watching this series of Cosmonarchy featuring the new race. Is it OP? Post your comment. You think they'll comment, guys? AI is going to be our end. Can't even sound words properly. Why Zealot? It's 0 armor versus Rove. No, Zealot has 1 armor versus Rove because it has 3 armor while shielded. Rove has 2 AP. But Zealot is also just tankier and deals more damage. No. I think if you go like 2-gate Grand Library, you can probably do like Zealot Herald with some Ecclesias. And then when a Zealot dies to anything, the whole army speeds up and then you just kind of walk into them. I think Zealot is just... it is the superior choice. You obviously can't stack them up as much. I mean, they're more expensive, but the bigger deal is the time cost. Anyway, I don't really think that Gateway is necessarily even the main thing. Like, yeah, Kasuga probably would have been more ahead with Zealot, but also think about this. He didn't go for any splash damage. And to an extent, I can kind of understand why. Like, oh, splash damage is just going to proc more shielding. But if you get a lot of splash damage, I think a Cantor is pretty hard for Scozy to deal with. If you have something to protect it, obviously. All right, lads, we're going to get our overlay ready for our second series of the cast. This will be the third quarterfinal. And it is Neblime versus Top Ramen. This should be seed 6 versus seed 3. This could be a burial ground for Protoss right here, if you think about it. We've got Kasuga, and then we've got Neblime, who has looked all right. I'm not discounting him. But he could lose to Ramen. That is a possibility. And Shambler could obviously beat Smarty. Smarty could also just activate it, you know, the same way he just dismissed Newt. Be like, yeah, see ya. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen. But it'll be fun. We'll find out together. And we will be casting that semifinal of the two Escozy players, by the way. We'll be checking that out at the end. Oh, I named both players Top Ramen. That's not right. How does the ranking work in these tournaments? So the seeding is decided usually if they... So it's like my eye test plus based on how those go, you... Let me pull up the ranking. We do have a website for that. So if you go to this link, or of course I can show it on the stream, which I will do in a moment, as soon as I figure out my antics. Here you go. So the rankings is based on, you know, tournament placings. This should say ranked matches. I just haven't updated that particular blurb in a while. You can read about the rules if you want, but the biggest thing is that, and I just updated it yesterday, actually. We've got Zeke as our top ranked as Zerg. And then Aoud. Aoud was recently top dog for some time as Terran, but he's started to play a lot of Protoss. And also, like, when you change races, I do start to, you know, demote you a little bit. I don't think he's actually switching to Protoss, but he's just been practicing almost exclusively Protoss recently. Hit him up as random, so, you know, that's why it says any. But +1 for him recently as Oya fell down a little bit. He lost a lot of games in the show match, and then he also just hasn't been active in general. So that's an inactivity stuff. I do count show matches for activity for the pros, but I weigh their results a little bit differently because if they're not, if it's like brand new, you're probably not going to get on this, you know, top 20 players list from one showing in a show match, unless you're playing against established players. And, you know, like there was a recent show match that had Ziki, Hanmano, and Oya. And so I counted that a little bit more legit because those are 3 players that actually play in the top 20 of our game. And so that those results actually mattered a little bit more. And then, yeah, if you were the same, if you didn't move at all, I left this equals sign here. And then obviously, like, Neblime overtook Shambler recently. And then what else do we have? Smarty Cakes arrived on the list. Bonath has been a little inactive. He's a Starcraft 1 pro. It's pretty cool. And then Smarty arrived on the list, and then Godwheat also went up 2 spots due to his defeat of Hanmano. Can you believe it? Hanmano himself didn't end up losing a spot, though, because he had that show match. So there you go. There's a little explanation of my thoughts in that. It's a bit of a, like, you know, I evaluate the results based on eye test. Like, did you actually play well? Like, that game that Doglived played against Kasuga looked a lot less like Kasuga, like, and Doglived played well and then lost. It was a lot more like Doglived just played kind of standard and Kasuga didn't know what standard was or what the Protoss standard response was and all that. So anyway, saying all that just for the sake of saying that we are, I do have like a little bit of a subjective analysis viewpoint, and then I also take into account what the result of the game is. And I also additionally will never penalize a player for playing and then losing in, like, say, the first round. So if, like, Neblime was seeded into this spot, so he's not going to lose, go down below Shambler or whatever in the ranking. He's not going to lose that if Ramen defeats him here. But he certainly won't be gaining points per se. It's just that I won't be considering it like inactive. Like inactive rank decay, if you will, occurs every 2 weeks or whatever when I update the ranking. So there you go, a little bit of info. But maybe I should take up Godwheat's idea. I might be a little bit more rich. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Pronago is bringing you another Cosmonarchy Tournament cast. We're in the Tribunal stage, looking to qualify one player from this whole dang kit and caboodle towards the Battlement stage of Acropolis 4. Set to take place in April, or maybe May. We'll see. Probably May, because I think April's all the gauntlets. Anyway, we have Nebline versus Top Ramen, a mainstay of Cosmonarchy. Very fun to see these two having it. And look, Nebline's already doing something cool. Well, he's the Zafir Protoss in the top right. And in the bottom left, we have none other than Top Ramen, who's not in the top right, which is maybe an ill omen. Let's see. Going Fulcrum first, and rocking the Platinum color. Look at that. I guessed correctly. We are on Macroglia by BiddyB. Thank you, BiddyB, for all your maps. And Lattice first versus Fulcrum is pretty good for the Protoss. It means that you have to, festoon yourself with some kind of Watchdog or Goliath, which might slow down your Vulture production if that's what you are going for. Also, in this particular map, you got these temples, which Protoss can use to build proxy structures. That's pretty cool. However, they are also resource depots, so you can return resources to them. And they're placed closer to their resources than you can typically place a town center, which means that when you see this, like, for example, this gas return is pretty quick. It might be something somebody starts to use. I know Shopkeeper Dog did the math on it. Now, this Mason Scout confirms the Lattice open, and I think you're just going to build a Watchdog here. Yeah, I wouldn't... I mean, that is the cost of a Vulture.
This individual is a fraud.
Lattice first is cheating.
Well, there you go. Hit him up says it's cheating. So Nebline is a cheater and disqualified, and also banned. Thank you for the resub, Hit him up. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, this is the price of a single Vulture, and I'm actually not really... Oh, okay. He's going to land it in between the Fulcrums because he wants to just see if he can shoot it down. And actually, he gets so close. And now he's going to go ahead and relocate it. This is hilarious, like, Watchdog boxing, shadow boxing, as the Vassal sees the initial Vulture. So that's very funny. So he's basically done everything he can do to, defend his base with the Watchdog. And now look at this. He's going to go ahead and preemptively move it a little bit closer to somewhere else. Maybe he's just going to send... I don't know where he's going. He's actually just going to Watchdog scout with it. Okay. He's decided that the Vassal is unlikely to come back in. Initial mines are being laid. We got some mostly Lattice units here and a single Zealot. And it looks like Nebline is going to be kind of greedy here. Go for the expand fairly quickly. I say greedy, it's probably... I mean, he'd probably dispute that. He'd be like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I would say the reason why that's kind of greedy is that if there's, like, a third Fulcrum, which he didn't get a rescout off since the Watchdog was there, right? If there's a third Fulcrum and a bunch of Vultures, this build does just straight up die on its face because the units you have here are not very good versus a lot of Vultures. Vassal catches a few moving out. There is the Watchdog scout coming in as well. This is going to kind of box Nebline in. Got his manifold on the rally point still. Might want to sync it back up. Indeed he does, because otherwise it would have been bopped. Oh, that Vulture might have been able to escape there, funnily enough, but not quite this time around. Vassal still scouting around towards the 3 o'clock now, maybe looking for any cheeky positions. Cyclops in term... Okay, he's got 4 of them, but there's no star pad, so we know there's no drop. That's the number that you can fit in a Trojan, which is the dropship equivalent. Cyclops obviously are a very potent unit, if anybody doesn't know what they do. When they attack, they leave behind a latent explosive shell that detonates after 2 seconds. So it's kind of like playing hot potato with your units. You really don't want to be in that area. That means melee is really good against them because it is unsafe splash. It's like a mini siege tank shot, It does damage air units as well that are there, so that's pretty good. Also, that idol was attacking the gateway. Your eyes did not deceive you there. Nebline just decided, screw that gateway, man. I don't like that one. Trip its pain a little or something. Watchdog is just about ready to burn down, but the Nexus will be seen here, and this is going to indicate to Ramen that he has a little bit of power on the military side. Now, this Vassal is definitely going to be thinking about coming back into things after scouting that the Watchdog flew in, right? But he's kind of just poking around the extremity. He doesn't trust that the Watchdog isn't there, that there wasn't another Watchdog built. Which is, you know, savvy initially, right? Because it's only 2 Watchdog missiles away from death, no matter how you slice it. And it looks like the army was enough to convince Raman to go back, even though he is down a couple of workers. This isn't really massively ahead for Nebelheim. What he's been developing behind this is actually just a 3rd gateway and now a crucible, and I guess a couple idle workers. The interesting thing is that he's definitely going for a cute tech option here. The Crucible does itself unlock Tier 3. So he could be going 3-gate Crucible into Prostration stage here, as an example. Simulacra moving across the map, trying to clear some of those mines. It's working out pretty nicely for him initially. He's just slowly erasing them all. Now he's going to force Raman to come forth. A little bit of self-damage there, indicating what the Cyclops does. He's also got Matadors out, which are a cool option here because they are going to run some of that armor. Be a little bit scary. If he can get them into the mineral line as well, that would be juicy. So no 3rd base being taken anytime soon by the Terran, and it doesn't look like Nebelheim is too interested in it himself. Starting to add a little bit of punch to his army. Zealots and Drakadins are going to be your biggest source of damage out of the Crucibles. Yeah, look at that. Ardent Authority coming. Feels like with the way that the army is moving across the map, and Nebelheim's only kind of catching it here, but with 2 of his more expensive units, this is a little bit awkward, right? The Matador is actually just going to go ahead and charge. Very thematic, as the Drakadin is wounded to almost nothingness. Yeah, getting that fire on there, starting to rend that armor. Also delays the shield regen a ton, which is probably the more useful thing here for the mech-based army that Raman is fielding. Charging a little bit further forward. Now he's right on top of all that backline, all those juicy units that do not want to be splashed. The vulture count's pretty low in this army, so we aren't going to see any additional units be made. You can see those Matadors really just pushing Nebelheim back, but he's so good at kiting backwards and letting the shielding work for him when he can. Still, it does look like a lot of those Striders are going to be broken open, and a lot of those units that Raman lost were a little bit more on the cheap side, right? I mean, nothing really expensive individually. Matadors are coming in to try to absorb some of this. The Cyclops will get their steadied splash eventually done, but definitely looking better for the Protoss the longer the fight goes on. We do have base number 3 coming for both players. A Palladium is on the way to start adding in those Phalanxes, the siege tank equivalent of Cosmonarchy. Definitely a big one. But mostly it's a lot of the same. He started to add in a couple of Blackjacks, capping the ridges. So if Nebelheim doesn't attack with a concerted force, and he can't really because of all these mines that were laid earlier, we will probably end up seeing Raman once again seize the advantage in terms of military. And of course he's got that ministry coming. I love that he's out here defending his mines to the degree that he can. And of course, there is an embassy, but I don't see a witness anywhere. Vassal coming back in, the same one from the beginning of the game. Very cool. And now the Protoss army is moving back. We saw Cantors. This 3rd base not quite set up yet. Nope, I'm doing it as I say so. Unitary Union on the way for Tier 3 Protoss army units. Crucible should be able to empower it since it's in the power field of it. Now we've got that witness coming, so that's what we're going to need to see. Not for the mines at this point, as much as it just giving him advance warning on things. Anchor's going to go ahead and lift off, as you can see by the pillboxes closing up shop. We will not be able to shoot while lifted. Has to land for that. He's going to just take a little bit of a closer look at this ridge position. Just being a nuisance, man. Just being a nuisance. Protoss army sharking over here to see what it can do to stop this 3rd base from being established easily. Some workers are already transferring over. Raman is down good 7 workers here, but should still be able to get off to a pretty good start. Now, we do have 1 Phalanx here, but we're going to need a little bit more than that to properly absorb the pressure of this army. Although, at the same time, the Matadors might be sufficient by themselves. The first a Cantor is sighted. The Matadors almost don't care initially. They've got so much health. And the Phalanx even deploys so that it can get the necessary shot off. But you will start to see those Cyclops falling like flies between the Draconids kiting backwards and the Acantor shells doing so much damage. At the same time, most of those Protoss units not very healthy. Many more Phalanxes are coming on down. We've got a total of 7 with 6 more being produced. So, I mean, surely after this we're going to see a round of units that aren't Phalanx. Second Unitary and Architects are going to be the strategy. Oh man, I forget the term of it. I was going to say it in French. I'm not French, guys. But anyway, the strategy of the day that Nebulon is going to be using. And there's tier 2. Okay, all right. So Raman's going to be the beneficiary of some balance adjustments that just kicked in, where tier 2 makes a little bit takes a little bit less time to make than it used to. It's a lot less time for Zerg. Man, I'm so scared of Psystorm or a Cantor or like anything that deals splash. Good grief. Nebulon hasn't scouted it yet. Salivating though. You know, in StarCraft 1, obviously, the pros are very, very adept at dealing with, you know, they time out when the siege tank is on cooldown, right? In Cosmonarchy, they'd be even better because the mortar actually has a travel time instead of it being an instant hit. So you'll unload a unit, the Phalanxes will shoot it, you'll pick the unit back up, no damage. Nebulon, meanwhile, is... trying to remember that he's got units over here that are supposed to be mining. I'm sure he'll fix that at some point. Setting up his 4th base. 5th on the way as well, so keeping up on the economy. Whereas Raman is, instead of going for extra ministries at this point, you can see him, I think he was thinking about it at one point, but he's definitely going more towards tier 2. 4 captaincies on the way. I love that the Matadors are here. With the Phalanxes, they should be able to hold off this push because most of the Terran army is all the way over here. But he's going to need to be pretty precarious here. Oh dear. Do not leave the Architects unattended. So down the Nexus will go. It was just tank mode Phalanxes. Did not deploy. One thing that you really got to watch out for in both TVP and TVZ is not having your Phalanxes deployed until the enemy army is already basically on top of you. It's a little bit more common in versus Zerg play. But stuff like this is kind of dangerous. Now, it still works out because Nebulon pulls away, and so that splash damage that would be happening to the Matadors isn't. The Zealots ended up falling away, and then in that sweet spot where the Phalanxes can hit them really quickly. We also have Phalanxes that deployed over here because it's just on the control group instead of a more localized selection, but now Nebulon's getting right on top. The target selection wasn't the greatest there from Raman, but he still ends up picking off some of the mid-range units. And he's got a couple of these guys on this side, too, that are just adding confusion to the mix. At the same time, a Cantor Architect with those gateway units coming on in. See what they can do. Ministry number 4 may be interrupted in the midst of this 3rd base. Oh yeah, the Architects are happy to siege away. So the longer these projectiles go, the more targets they can attack. Again, the targeting there from the Phalanxes is left to automatic, and that means that a lot of Masons went down. And that wasn't necessarily Nebulon targeting them either. That was the friendly splash in some capacity. Need to target down the Acantors. Doesn't look like that ministry needs to be given up here, and Madcaps have started to arrive, but, I mean, spoiler, they're not going to be the difference maker in this fight by themselves. They might just push the enemy back, but they would have been more useful as insurance to shoot down the Zealots and other units that were charging him. Instead, we're going to see these Phalanxes get overrun. More Madcaps are arriving a little bit too late, it feels like, so another siege line are established behind them. Yeah, not the most ideal target there. And indeed, that ministry is going to get canceled. Those Phalanxes could unsiege and attack again, since they were just kind of left to their own devices. But I don't think that the Architect Ball is going to be reset anytime soon. Well, look at all of those shots. Ministry landing to absorb some of the pressure, but obviously is just going to be burned down. He's going to lift it off. Only the Draconids can shoot up here, so I suppose that's something. But this looks like it's running its course, and Nebulon has found a way to victory in much a similar fashion as many of his other victories over Raman, just going back to the Architect. coming up with a different way to defeat his American homie. Zealots come in to finish off the job on those phalanxes, and the map becomes a dark and scary place where Ramen only has access to his natural. He is making the 4th Ministry. He does have access to Tier 2, but I don't know how much it matters. Tinker's Tower coming, Starport coming. He's got 1,800 gas. That's enough for Tier 3, but he's got no way is he going to have enough minerals for any of that. Been pumping Phalanx for so long. Ancestral Archives is done. We're adding Rogue Galleries, probably for Barghest. Maybe Charlatan. Yeah, Ramen's had some Fantasy GG timings before. I think even Neblime is like, but I have vision of the whole map. Where could he be? And when he's charging in to the entrenched position of the Phalanx with Architects, it's over. GG. Neblime posts up game number 1. And that means we move on to our second match, which I'm very excited about because all of these games should be fairly back and forth. These two players do play each other close more often than not. But Neblime had the better idea on Macroglia. That was, of course, his map pick. We move on to our second map. Top Ramen has his chance. Hey, GG set him up. Thanks for hanging out and for your resub. Very epic. Hey, CHK Draft just got some updates. Cool. Looking forward to seeing where that goes. Okay. So because I had some confusion out of the previous round... Okay. Macroglia was map 1, and we go to Corrosion next, which is... Okay, that is the second map. Just making sure, guys, because we had some silliness happen in the last series. Always pays to be prepared. Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for game 2. Top Ramen in the top left of Corrosion. His map pick for this series is a pick for map number 2. He seems to be the dim gray Terran in the top left, and Neblime in the bottom right is the blue... Nope, maroon. Sorry, guys. I know you guys were waiting for me to say blood in my blood voice, but it wasn't necessary. Lattice opener yet again. Neblime is a crafty fella, but he does like his opening lattice, so don't take that to the bank. You know, if it doesn't work out, he might pivot away from it, but at the same time, it seems to have been giving him some nice impact overall. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes behind all the other matches in this series. I have pulled up the map veto, so I can tell you guys that Monazite was banned by Neblime. No, he says, to the island map. And interestingly enough, Ramen responds with a Magnetron ban. Doesn't want those, the maps that have like double mineral-only thirds. You know, if you want a gas third, you have to take it very far away or at a very vulnerable spot. So that's kind of interesting there. Now going into our next round, we will be playing on Frozen Sylphid with Impulsion as map 4 and Saberhand as map 5, should we need them. Gilded Wall was the second round ban for Neblime. Quasar Quartet, the second round ban for Ramen. Looks like he's just trying to get rid of some of the maps that he hasn't played that much on. Would be my speculation. And the Vassal's already leaving the building. This time there will be no advance warning for Ramen. And Neblime is going for a second Lattice. Interesting. So, you scout the sim, so you know that's happening. And actually the Watchdog was made blind, which is pretty correct versus Neblime, I think. So it just finishes in the nick of time. Oh, he's lost it. Absolute calamity. I knew as soon as he decided to keep flying in despite hearing the sound. To be fair, you can't hear the sound because the Watchdog has more attack range than the Vassal has vision range. So you need to be like on the ball when you react to that. But usually Nablime is. So, you know, the Terran's feeling very happy. His 100 mineral investment just beat the 75 mineral investment of the Vassal. So now another one has to be made. Meanwhile, the Watchdog is just flying away like, who cares? I'm done. I did my job. See ya. Also, I saw that in the chat we had Shane Boydson saying that the air units for the Protoss have so much range. The Architect is actually not an air unit. It's a hovering ground unit. So, I don't think did Nebula make an air structure? I don't think so. Vassal, well, I guess the Vassal. That's the only thing he made. Vassal attacking the Vulture here, confirming in the side of another one. Maybe we'll change where that Watchdog ends up going. We do have a little bit of a sharking attack squad of Simulacrum Idol. I'm a little bit, I feel a little bit chancy here about the play. I mean, he's going 2-gate to follow it. But this doesn't, I don't know. This feels unenjoyable as from the Protoss perspective. Knowing that you're opening Gambit versus the Fulcrums is not going to work out super well if you just stick to Lattice, so you need the 2-gate follow. It's very expensive and obviously does delay your expansion for some time. So an anchor is being constructed here, but I don't think it'll be particularly necessary. We saw the Cyclops is dancing with the one Vassal there for a moment. A couple Dracodons are about to pop here, and that will certainly be a good choice. Not on location, that Ministry. It looks like a couple of these fellas are going to get stunned. Pretty good opportunity here to jump on that Idol, for example, as it will not have the Simulacrum split. Ooh, very close to dying there, but he gets the split off, but it's not very useful when it only has 7 health. Some units off the rally are getting attack move hooked. Yeah, loading up the Cyclops and the Anchor to give him extra weapon range helps out a lot as well, and the Ministry is floating over. There you go. So things like this working out just fine. When you hear that little shrill sound effect and see that overlay for a moment, that means that the Simulacrum will split in a few seconds. So it gives you a short amount of time to do something about it. That's a lot of Sims that just got created off of nothing. Cyclops can be a curse for you versus Sims, because they will deal enough damage with just 2 of their shots to make all of the Sims split. And then, of course, Nebulon can just start walking away. He's really shown a lot of really good micro on the pullbacks, the stutter stepping and such. Ayud probably has better general micro, but Nebulon kiting backwards, if you just keep playing into that, you are going to end up losing a lot more units than you think. So, some units are already starting to harvest resources over here in the bottom left. This is a part of Corrosion, I suspect, will be a little bit controversial, but also something that people are going to want to try to take use of if they can, since Nebulon has been on one base this whole time. He needs to make back some of that money somehow. Another layer of mines. 2 very neat rows here of mines from Ramen. And the Vultures slip out, so they can go straight to the bottom left and deny this. This is definitely a problem for Nebulheim. The Vassal was watching in case this sort of thing happened, but Ramen seems to be hell-bent on making it occur. He actually doesn't even check, so yeah. I mean, Nebulheim is fine in this situation. He doesn't even bother checking. Definitely a misread on the map. I think Ramen should have gone there. However, maybe it's godlike, because Nebulheim went all the way to the bottom left, and the Vultures just showed up to his natural. So Nebulheim made the right move, Ramen made the wrong move, and Ramen will profit from it. I mean, what else can you say? Gonna get a full scout off, kill a couple of scribes in the process. Remind Nebulheim he's got a ton of idle workers back at home. Dude, Nebulheim's off his game with all those idle workers. I won't mince words. Can't believe it. Unbelievable. Nebulheim. My homie Nebulheim. Picking off that last worker with that last shot was good. I didn't think he had gotten the retarget correctly, but that was very smart. Ramen going for the 3rd base off the back of that. And we have almost full saturation here for the reservoir. You need that 4th worker minimum. Maybe you'll even need an extra one. Star pad for the Trojan, and we will have a lot of Cyclops coming. So that makes some sense. Sieve is completed. We heard him being finished up earlier. Reminds me of when I first added that unit, and I first added the Ridge Caps in general, and Arbuz, Legend Arbuz Budesh, was saying, he was calling him Terran Steve. I thought that was very good. Very, bring back Steve, you know what I mean? Not quite Minecraft Steve level of fame, but, you know, he can be our Steve. So he went from Cyclops spam to Matador spam. He's still going to go for the Cyclops, but the Matadors are interesting because they can also be loaded up at some point if that is something that Ramen is interested in. And the coverage over here for all these units is very good. So, you know, Nebulum immediately pans over to it. He sees it. He knows what's happening. So he can start to defend himself. But because Ramen has been sighted, he is just going to come out on the map and start to go make a run for this little spot over here. This is very good because that cliff advantage is going to help his Cyclops out. He makes it there before the Protoss can try to entrench. And honestly, this Protoss army does not do much, right? He's really reliant on any sort of kiting backwards. The Dracodons come in to try to dissuade this. He's already got a nice little spot over here. Ramen's very crafty with the drops, though. He kind of knows what to expect. He's going to unload over here, which is, I guess it's a choice. You know, he's just trying to battle with the Dracodons initially. And then he can grab the survivors and move them away. Looks like he's actually going to make an escape and go towards the miners over here in the top right, while the 12 o'clock gets cleaned up so that he can send his ministry over. This should be pretty scary, actually, for Nebulum, because the economy of Ramen is pretty, like, vastly superior, with the exception that this is giving him a lot of free Vespene, and it has not been accurately managed. But the mineral income is so much better, and, I mean, these are reasonable upgrades in terms of Vespene when he starts saturating them. So I feel like he'll be fine. Gas-wise, Nebulum is going to be on par with him for some time, but when it comes to the mineral income, much better for Ramen. He can have so much more chaff. Now, he has no advance warning for this attack force coming in. Drop gets preempted. Maybe he can kill a worker or two here. It's not really going to matter too much. Yeah, look, one goes down. Is he going to get one more? No, he will not. And meanwhile, the attack force at 12 o'clock kind of boxes Nebulum into a corner if he doesn't just walk away from this. He needs to walk away from having killed all these units because the Terran army is going to be brought to bear. Matador is charging forward. I love the hallucination there. Try to help the Matadors be brought down before you can really do much. And the Zealots mixed in with all those Cyclops there, so that wasn't good either. But the Matador count is still pretty outrageous. He's going to walk in right on top of everything else. It looks like the Blackjacks are going to be routed. Eventually, these Matadors will be brought down, but you can see how long they last, that if there was any DPS to follow them up there, that would have been very devastating for Nebulum. At the end of the day, he is big chillin', or as John Cena once said, big chilling, but with an extra letter. We have an Argosy almost halfway complete. He's got the double Grand Library to make more Cantavis if he needs. That extra gas really hurting Ramen. He had an opportunity to shut down the mineral mining over here. He had an opportunity to run the vultures over here in this location. He just hasn't done it. Left a sim over there as well. So what's the transition from this point? He's made a Wraith. He's got the Palladium. He is not developing with, Phalanx count exactly. He is coming up with some now. I mean, Nebulum can't kill Ramen, but other than that, it does feel like it's a layup for the Protoss at this point. And I say can't kill him. You can't kill him right now. Tier 2 is going to be Ramen's choice. I can't say I think that that's going to bail him out of this situation, but you got to try something. Attempted Wraith Harass is short-lived. As long as Nebulum just kind of sits here and continues to get in his face, I don't think Ramen has a way out of this. With only 2 base eco, and these are, these maps all have 1,500. Oh no, this is a 2K mineral map. Okay, it could be a little bit different. That could be a little bit different then. At least the Wraith can come over here and shut this down. This is outrageous. Ramen doesn't want to, I guess. Matadors go out to see what's going on. There's a bit of a surround fomenting. Third base is well up and running for now, for Nebulum. Oh no, the stun! The stun is so... Oh, it happens every time. Oh my god. Well, the Matadors can't really do much. He calls the hash. Might as well say that as a BM move, you know what I mean? We got Magisters coming. I was told that Smarty was the admin for this match. Shout out Smarty, and he said that it was him. So, nothing to see there. Obviously, it would be such a replay that wasn't working properly. Base number 4. Argosy's making Magisters. Third Argosy. Nebulum's been liking the Magister lately, I've noticed.
Varkas OT.
Oh, well, thank you. That was $3 to see if you could make it say Escozy. You did it. There's a text-to-speech donor meta being established as we speak. Thank you for your $3. Don't worry about it. Ramen drops the probably over. GG. Yeah, it sure was over, buddy. But that means that while Neblime seems to be cruising through so far, I do have to point out that that map is not... Like, for Ramen to pick that map and not ever really look at those extra mining outposts feels like hubris. We need to see a little bit more proactivity from him, and I hope we will in Game 3. End of this one is fricked up. What happened? What's up, roller skates? Thanks for accidentally clicking voice chats, dude. Howdy, homies. We're back with Neblime versus Top Ramen, and we will be seeing some more action from them, this time on the 3-spawn map of Frozen Sylphid. It's right after Neblime banned Gilded Wall. Can you believe that? The orange Protoss in the bottom left is Neblime. The Platinum Terran in the bottom right is Top Ramen. And I do feel like with the way that Neblime has been playing out this series so far, does Ramen have it in him to come back into it? I would have given a prediction of, you know... I mean, I would have at least given him a map. You know, Ramen's been out of the game for a little bit. There was a period of time where he was pretty superior to Neblime, and obviously a longer period of time where Neblime was kind of owning him, figuring him out. But it does feel like we're back to that, you know? We had the I'm better than Neblime sandwich, where Ramen was better than Neblime for the middle, but the buns are Neblime being better than him. Also worth pointing out, too, that Neblime is... Neblime is... he's just been gaming for so long as Protoss. I know Ramen has played a little bit of Zerg. He's also, you know, moonlighted as Protoss when him and Dog were trying to figure out the matchup. Him and Ayud as well. But certainly something that I would see over time is Ramen play a couple of the other races. And Neblime has so fiendishly kept to playing Protoss, with the exception of when he's playing against Shambler in the best of 9 and best of 9s that we're still waiting for Shambler to resume working on. That, you know, as a result, Neblime just always is Protoss, right? He is perennially Protoss. The only exceptions, the only time he will be freed from his bond, as his word is his bond, is if he wins an Acropolis as Protoss, he'll go back to Terran. If he fails to qualify to the battlement stage, then he will also... I think he'll go back to Terran. I mean, I imagine he would... That's the only time that he gives himself the excuse, gives himself the out. I feel like he'll be waiting a while longer. I mean, listen, he's in contention to qualify right here and now. Not in the series, of course, but in this tournament. He could qualify to the battlement stage, thus foiling his plan, and then he'll just have to win. That's how it be. Now, I haven't actually seen a lot of matches on Frozen Sylphid, but I like the idea of TVP on this map, so I'm interested in how Ramen decides to navigate it. I feel like there's a lot of terrain you can use to your advantage, and it's a little bit harder for a Protoss to maneuver their army around. It kind of reminds me of Court Martial, which I can't even remember what it used to be called back in the day because it's like never played, so I've ejected that trivia from my mind. It's the map that has the diadem in the middle of the map as a bit of a lark. Head him up is very fond of that map. Ramen is going to go ahead and go for the expansion, though. I've seen him pull out ridiculous, like, not really comebacks, but, like, hold out for a really long time on Court Martial. And so it doesn't really surprise me that, you know, this kind of map might be pretty good for him. But at the same time, it was Neblime's map pick. So he's got a plan, and he's going to go for that Grand Library. I think he might be thinking about that Kasuga style, going for the fast Storm drop here. You think about the shape of the natural, it does accept storm drops and any other sort of AoE harassment on the workers pretty well. I don't think you can land it over here and storm across, but it is something to think about. Watchdog is going to get caught over here, and most of the army is actually leaving with the pretty fast witness to clear the mines. This is going to allow him to go for a bit more of an aggressive gateway style. And now he's switching into Artisan, so maybe the Storm Drop is going to come a little bit later, as of course the Grand Library isn't done yet. But squeezing an Artisan out in between, maybe 2 of them, could certainly be good. Now, the Vultures just decided to keep walking and driving. It's like they were all collectively bending over to look at their phone and weren't looking at the road, and the Dracodons just started pelting them when they weren't even paying attention. One of them goes down. Cyclops in the anchor are going to make it pretty hard for Nebulon to make stuff happen. And look at that! Some of his units actually getting stunned by the Zealot. And another round onto the Hierophant. Very good. That slow after the... Oh, that was close. That slow after the stun onto the Zealot was not too bad. Artisan starting that. Why is he harvesting at 6? Is this some kind of ego play? He's like, yeah, I can harvest right next to you, dude. Honestly, the real Artisan move, though, is to move it into your enemy's worker line and start harvesting their resources. That's what I would do. I would also lose, but forget about that part. Pretty good stuns here. It's definitely going to help out with those Cyclops shells. That's expensive for Nebulon. He overstepped his bounds. The Witness was right here. I don't feel like there's much of an excuse for that. The Idle Worker, but Witness version, you know, Idle Witness. Coming back in soon, though. No mines to speak of. Man, I don't like the... versus the sheer number of Cyclops that he's got, I don't necessarily like this from Nebulon, but he's going to try to stick around and keep pelting his opponent with the phase disruptors. He's like very, very close to losing some of those Dracodons, though. Nexus is coming, but it's pretty late, and Raman's already on the Palladium tech. I like this. I think this is going to work out pretty well for him. More Vulture Mines being laid, but again, the Witness is right there, so it's going to be a little bit hard. This is starting to build back into what he had before. Oh my god. Nebulon, you naughty boy. You can't just walk right in to a bunch of those mines and live to tell the tale. Cantavis almost going down to Cyclops fire. Well, the Palladium has shut down his production for a little bit, and only now is he adding more Cyclops. This could still be kind of bad. But while you're taking pot shots at the mines, you do need to be shooting them. You know what it reminds me of? It's really funny, but if you guys have played MOBAs, then you know that like when your opponent is trying to do some creep score, you know, they're trying to get some farming going, that's when you attack them, you know? Especially in bot lane. So anyway, that's my League of Legends-ism for the time. Now, Zealots are going pretty deep here. They will eventually be brought down before the Phalanx can be damaged. And where's the follow-up? I guess the Storm is pretty good on the workers. That's definitely true. Looking kind of dire, but we do have Phalanxes coming in to stabilize. Raman's got a lot of money in the bank, too. Definitely needs to get that spent. I guess at the same time, though, he's had more workers for longer. I mean, this Nexus only just freshly finished, more or less. Witnessing what's going on, the anchor gets canceled immediately. A storm onto the Phalanxes, and there's 2 of them in the spot. Oh, but he snipes down the Cantavis. Still, this should result in the death of some of these guys. Yeah, losing 2 Phalanx for that feels like a lot of critical pressure that has been lost. Oh my god, he's just going to run in. Of course he is. Change the target! I guess not. Okay. Adding more Fulcrums, but everything is idle. Not great. There you go. More Phalanx, 1 Vulture. Starpad comes up as well. Wouldn't surprise me for Nebulon to go for base number 3 here, and his Crucible is done. He's adding Stargates. Well, a Stargate, I should say. There it is. Now he's adding Stargates. There you go. He made me correct later. That's all. So I feel like with the Stargate play, I mean, he's already got access to Goliaths, but if he wants to take them by surprise, man, those Vulture Mines are so ridiculous. But 3 of them off to the front here is not ideal. Atreus will go down. Trying to keep him in tank mode, which does make sense. I love the targeting onto the Dracodons. That is exactly what he needs to do. Unfortunately, so many of his units are just going to get heavily hankered by the Zealots. But yeah, he's really thin to the line, right? He's only got 5 Phalanx, but his opponent only has like a few Zealots. That Watchdog is kind of a problem, too. Raman has no idea that there's Stargate play, but... Oh, no. Never mind, it's not a problem. So an Anseal's coming up. I like the idea of it. It's going to help shoo away the Witness. A lot of Phalanx, so assailing this position is going to be pretty challenging. There's one Watchdog in the mineral-ish line of that. By the way, these artisans are still mining. Land the Watchdog, dude. He doesn't see him, but if he did, that would be really good. It's a sick Phalanx line. The anchor is empty, and no other units are being... I guess he's making vultures he can put in there, but... No! He laid like 40 mines in one spot. Oh, dear. Now, if he was pushing the Phalanxes forward during this, I would actually think this is potentially a pretty good play. As it is, he's just kind of heckling here and there, but... Finally, we'll strip out the Zealot in that situation. Tier 2 on the way for top ramen. Wants to win this game a little bit later. Base number 3 at the 9 o'clock-ish spot. For Nebline. Oh, dear. Well, a lot of the gateway value just going down the drain. By the way, the Watchdog, did it go? I don't even know where it went. I think maybe the Auroras have shown themselves. Madrigals are on the way. A deployed Phalanx is on the way in a drop. Yeah, so this will keep the Auroras busy. Watchdog lands just to be slightly easier to kill. Unfortunately, the Phalanx does not get out. That would have been a good move. Maybe kill a couple of Scribes on the way. Expensive loss, but it also stopped the Auroras from just moving straight in, and now the Madrigals are out, right? So there's some value in that, even though it didn't end up getting anything done. The Witness is so annoying here for Robin. He's going to lose his entire minefield. Oh, well, not before a couple of those end up popping anyway. Tier 2 is complete. First Madrigal salvo bleeds the shields of the Aurora. Yeah, when you scale up the fights, it's a little bit harder for the Protoss army, it seems. Okay, base number 3 is on the way for our Terran. He's also adding the captaincies, courtesy of his tier 2. Don't crash, Shambler. Unitary Union is 1/4 of the way there. Yeah, here come all of the Auroras. They're going to scout Atlas, but the Madrigals need to scramble over, and these Phalanxes are blocking the way. Of course, Nebula's also trying to be a bit of a heckler on the way out. So far, 3 Masons have gone down. You do need to kind of hightail it out of there after that. Vultures and Cyclops trading in the meanwhile. I think you keep like 3 Madrigals here. Maybe 4, and then
I am a hero!
Stop doing that. We have the captaincies coming out. I do think Ramen has this habit of going tier 2, and then he like techs, and then he techs again. You know what I mean? It's like 3 layers of tech if he goes for that add-on first. But he's going to go for Apostles here. Okay. I could see that working out particularly versus the ground comp, because it's a little bit under strength. But I feel like Auroras are a good stylistic counter because they will just, you know, right-click the Apostles. Not really a way that you can stop that. And if they get right on top of them and the Madrigals kill them, then they're going to be dealing splash damage to everything, so... Well, one of the Madrigals goes down for free. Single Vulture has begun heckling stuff over here. And Disruption Field coming out. I like it. Very fancy with it. Shutting down a lot of these Phalanx before they can shoot. Finally, the Madrigals will clear them. And yeah, the ground army is just going to get absolutely shellacked as a result. Couldn't quite focus down the Madrigals. And so, well, here he's going to try to spread out his units, but... Oh, dear. No, that's not the unit you wanted. Oh, you can see them all go for the move. Yeah, they kind of annihilated all the corpses there because as soon as they drop and go for their last orders, that kind of thing happens. Another Phalanx drop has come out. Oh, dear. 14 frags. Battle workers. Wiggle, wiggle. I feel like with the gas float that Nebline has, he definitely could have a little bit more tech, but seems like he's struggling to figure out, okay, what do I build versus like Phalanx, Madrigal, Cyclops, Apostle? That's a funny one. No ridge in this base, by the way, so only gas. Less resources in general. So even though this has happened, it's still better eco here for Nebline. He's got a better base over here at the, I guess we'd call it 10. Heracles coming out as a pretty sturdy front line, but the Strigas are not far. Pretty quick reaction there. Doesn't end up losing any scribes. I wonder if did he load a wounded phalanx or what? This is so silly. He doesn't even kill them. There you go. All that for 2 workers. 4 more phalanx on the way in production. I mean, Raman's got a decent army. I don't know if the architects are going to be able to deal with this. They cannot outrange the phalanx. And there's no other units over. Oh my god. He's still in an architect voice. And look at that. Just calls out, throws out the GG. And it looks like in the minimap there you can actually see there is another one of those phalanx drops dirtily damaging the main base. And also I crashed. But that doesn't mean it wasn't an epic game. And it also doesn't mean that we're done with this series, because Raman just ended up dub posting. Epic. I wasn't expecting the sudden ending there, but Nebulheim had it up to here with all those drops, man. Still hope for the man himself just a while longer. Homies, 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 it's game 4, and we might even have game 5. Can you believe it? Impulsion is where we find ourselves, and Saberhand. I'm salivating over the idea of these two fighting on Saberhand. Hopefully, Raman can do it. Make it happen. Art of John's. My game hashed. Thanks, Raman. Raman is in the bottom right. Oh, dude, I don't know what color this is. Silver? Gray. Just classic gray. Gray, Terran in the bottom right. Nebulheim in the top left seems to be... I don't know this color. Have I seen this color before? It ain't Delft blue. It's too bright. Cornflower blue? Royal blue. Okay, there you go. Gateway coming out at you. Fulcrum coming out at you. I don't think these players are going to change too much, but Nebulheim has opened Gateway instead of Lattice, so that's worth writing home about. I do feel like Raman has shown that you can't disregard his ability to assemble something resembling a worthwhile defense there. And the mines, man. Like, Raman put the mines out there. And there is an interesting interaction where even if you have detection vision of the mines, if there are other combat units nearby, they're going to override priority. And so you're going to attack move into the vultures, and then the mines go off as the vultures retreat. And that's what you actually want to do in those sort of early game skirmishes that aren't just like the initial 2 units you have or whatever, right? So I was going to say like mid-sized skirmish, but that wasn't really what that was. So Raman scouts Gateway. I don't know if he clicked on the rogue gallery. This is like a, what is this? Gateway Gallery Lattice. This build is either going to fall flat on its face, we go to game 5 real quick, or Nebulheim will win the series off of this. And I know that's like kind of the only 2 things that can happen in terms of the outcome, but it's going to be kind of polarizing. I don't know if we're going to get into a long game off of this. Barguest? What? He's gonna be so sad. He made the cloaked units, and here we go, the lodestones here with mines around it. I mean, it's for anti-Kabbalist, right? But that is outrageous. So it did get buffed recently. It's a little bit cheaper and trains constructs a little bit faster, so it's less downtime for your ministry. Provides detection, and you can garrison units into it, which is a little bit less relevant for the Masons themselves, but, you know, you can put vultures in there or whatever. For the air threat, there is only going to be the Cyclops. Okay, Vassal with him. Now, I could see this being really annoying, actually. At first, I didn't believe. Then I began to believe. With only Dracodons elsewhere, you know, this could be pretty neat. I love all the mines, dude. Raman's made so many mines. He wants to go for his ministry. There's no way he's going to be protecting the... Barguest play, right? He's sitting here waiting to see any shimmers. His eyes are peeled tight, you know. He's like, oh, where is it? Where is it? Show me your Kabbalist. Meanwhile, there's no Kabbalist to be seen. He's not making that. Pretty good mind game, though. Maybe he just decided he would make a different unit because it was scouted. That's another thing. He could have gone for Kabbalist, but then the Mason scouted it, so he's like, nah. The lodestone's still useful, though. Obviously, the Barguest itself is cloaked until it attacks, just like any other Protoss unit that has cloaking or is cloaked by a Didact. So he's just going to make a lot of air units until it's scouted, and then he's going to attack with the air units. That's basically what he's doing right now, and it could scale up to being something that's pretty hard for Ramen to deal with. All he's got in there, by the way, are vultures, so there's no anti-air over here, no watchdogs or anything. And it looks like Nebulime is going to go ahead and attack at the same time as this Nexus gets put down. Obviously, he's behind the 8 ball in terms of the speed of the Nexus, because Ramen is almost done with his ministry now, but this is huge for Ramen. He didn't pan over, though. He panned over kind of late. Now, is he going to actually make something here? I think when you see that many air units, he probably didn't see the shimmer, though, is the problem. You do want more than just one watchdog. This is going to hit like a truck, honestly. He's got some Cyclops here. He's got a watchdog. He might be okay. I don't want to get overhype over it. But Vargas actually do a surprising amount of damage. And of course they give armor pen, so the vassals are going to just eliminate the watchdog real quick. Well, Vargas reveal themselves. Initial vassals going down. Yeah, it's not actually too bad. You know, one Cyclops going down, and he clears 3 vassals. Doesn't put much damage onto the Barghest. In fact, none, it looks like, besides shields. Which a Protoss are fine with. That probably went as good as it could have gone for Ramen, given he did not have advanced warning. Scrapyard's going down. He's clearly going to be going after the very important play of... oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at how fast that almost killed that watchdog, dude. Isn't that so good? Mason scouts the very small number of workers over here in the main base. Or the natural rather. I don't think Ramen noticed. I don't really know what Nebulime is going to be doing here. You know, like his units are getting caught by mines. There's so many units here for Ramen. You got blackjacks coming as well. Hold on. I think we're going to Saberhand surely. Like, I guess if he kites away from the Cyclops and they walk into each other, yeah, that he'll disengage. But like, just look at the tempo here. Like, Nebulime does have more workers somehow. Don't ask me how, but I don't think he's got the better setup. He's going for the Unitary. Remember, Rogue Gallery is tier 2, so when you make it, you get access to the Unitary Union and other tier 3 adventures. Vultures see this Nexus. I mean, you can be very, very aggressive here from Ramen's POV. You just scouted the very fast third base. The enemy's army is all over the place. You're laying your mines to get map control. I would love some more in the middle of the map. Witness is coming out, but, you know, that'll announce itself as well. Vulture's now trying to scramble. They probably could have gone some other place. One of them does end up escaping. Cyclops and Blackjacks are going to be pretty good at dealing with the Zealots initially. And look at that. Nebulime did the anti-kiting. He's walking into all the Cyclops shots. Whew, down goes the Vagrant. Very quick spank into that unit. More Cyclops to come. A ministry halfway complete for base number 3 as Ramen has elected to be somewhat aggressive, but he's also just like, yeah, I'll just match you with macro. That's fine. He's very far down in workers, though, so we know that. I don't know if Ramen knows that. Vulture gets 1 kill, but still ties up one of the Dracodons, and you got to be somewhat careful over here. You know, Ramen's army is pretty brittle. Not very tanky initially. This is where you need to be fighting when you know your opponent wants to pursue you. This is when you need to start thinking about, okay, I got to start shooting with my Cyclops, because then they're going to walk through it. And instead of you walking through it because they're kiting you, you got to start kiting them back. But, yeah, the Dracodon count seems to have achieved a critical mass. It can repose this many Cyclops. Base number 3 going to move over to the bottom left. I thought for a long time there was a lot of potential here for the Terran army here, but it does look like Protoss is stabilized, and an Architect is going to come out here in a moment. It's going to be really hard for Ramen to engage. He does not have any Vultures left over, really. He's really struggling to deal with all those kiting moves that are happening. That's kind of what the Matadors were for, but Ramen he made the Scrapyard, and then he didn't really make anything else out of it. Really needs to reinforce his mid-range. And he had mines to fall back to, too, so it's a little bit unforced to be going after it like that. 4 Cyclops, maybe move up here to the top left base. Instead, he's actually going to flank with them, which I guess is fine. A lot of shots to try to dodge. Nebulime does admirably nonetheless. Ooh, nice stuns over there. The Matadors can go right after that Architect if they want to. Nice stun. Very nice. Unfortunately, he doesn't actually commit to it. A little bit too scared of the Architect, and then he falls back, and you saw that split was nasty. Watchdog blocking 12 o'clock for base number 4. Vulture blocking 9 o'clock. Nebline will have to do something about that. Mason sighted moving over. This is a very far distance. You know, Ramen has chosen to take the very far base instead of the 3 o'clock. Man, all that friendly splash damage because of those 2 zealots that just decided to traipse over there. I don't think the Architect is going to be able to escape here, but it's doing a good job of kiting away so that the Cyclops friendly splash does a lot of self-damage. Well, you kind of want to phase the Cyclops out of your comp at this point. You can still make them, but you want to use them as like drops or maybe move them around the map because they're pretty mobile. But you want to go for like Matador Blackjack because you're not going to be dealing splash damage and punishing yourself for kiting. Like, Protoss already get a benefit from kiting because their shields will start to kick in. Matadors help neutralize that, but if you're still doing damage to yourself because of the Cyclops, it's not as helpful. Ramen also in need of more Fulcrums. He's adding 2 more behind it. Ancestral Archives coming for Nebline as Tier 4 development. Certainly coming into fruition. Love some Vultures with this army as well, to be fair, but I don't think we're going to see any anytime soon. An Architect does go down. We got one more in the way back. 500 damage already to its name. And no healing or sustain for this army for Ramen, so all that is confirmed. Unanswered. Golem doesn't last very long, but that's alright. And it does look like our 6 o'clock base here is going to be run down. Too many Masons piloting over there, so 12 of them evacuate back towards the natural. I really feel like he should have just taken this base, right? Like, you know, Nebline's very happy scouting that there's no third here. If he came over here thinking it was a 4th, that would be a different story. Anchor being made. Looks like Ramen wants to run down the Architect, which is a good choice with the Blackjack. This is what I was talking about earlier. The Matadors being in front would be helpful, but using the Blackjacks to try to run them down is a good choice overall. Needs to do something about 6 o'clock, though. Really needs to secure that base to have a chance in this game. Archon on the way on second Ancestral Archives. Yeah, I think Nebline knows what's up. He doesn't need Obtecton here. He's just going to go Archon. And when he does that, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to deal with that? When it dies, it storms all of your units, and then they get worse because they're Blackjacks. Ramen's going to give it a go. His Atlas is nearly complete. It will be some time before he can actuate it because he's going to be busy microing his army. And he definitely needs to. The Blackjacks slowly moving forward, but all the Matadors are already dead. All of them are already dead, and it feels like his scrap army was not enough to hold Nebline at bay. As the last of them fall, the Zealots once again arrive, and he can't even get into the anchor. He did. Brave soul. Not that it matters much. Matadors are going to be dropped. They're going to need to do a lot of heavy lifting here. I don't think Ramen has a chance, man. 1,300. The Draconid spots the drop, leaving the base to add insult to injury. Everything clumping up over here. The Archon sighted, forces the GG out. And Top Ramen has been felled in Game 4. I really thought he had a lot of potential going into that mid stage, but as Nebline has a little victory lap here, must be said, there was an advantage for a moment. He decided he would just try to match the macro, but Nebline already had such a huge worker lead. Pretty early, like getting 8 workers up that early on is pretty monumental, and I don't think that was because he made the lodestone. That doesn't explain all of it. There was something else going on there. Mind games within mind games. Nebline moves on. He will face the winner of our next series, which is Shambler versus Smarty Cakes. Join us for that. GG. Why no tank? Why attack? Alrighty. Let's go into our next set. Going to be the Shambler versus Smarty, as mentioned. So I actually do not have as much time as I thought I would. These games ended up going longer than expected, which is fine, preferable even. That does mean that I will be bowing out after this series. Shambler versus Smarty should be fun. More PvT, but this time I have a feeling the... I don't think we're going to see the same complexion, that's for sure. Bit of a seed mismatch as well. Tomorrow I'll be going live at a little bit before 12 o'clock Eastern so that I can cast the semifinal that I'm not going to be able to cast today. And then we'll go right into the grand final live, if you can believe it. So that's going to be fun. Join us for that. 12 o'clock Eastern is going to be when the final starts, so I'll probably go live at like 11 or something. Yeah, screw we. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, quarterfinal number 4 is underway, and we have the Shambler as our white Terran in the top left of Impulsion, going up against Smarty Cakes, the dark green Protoss. Shambler's already going for a forward stockade, so this will be an interesting series. This is also the biggest mismatch we have based on seeding. Shambler comes in here as seed number 2, being the only Class 1 player to participate, because while Shopkeeper Dog did sign up and was given seed number 1 based on his ranking, he did not participate in his opening match, letting Godwheat get a bye right into the semi-final. He will face Doglived in an Escozy Mirror. And we would have to have a pretty big upset here for Smarty to make it a Protoss Mirror in the second semifinal, but it is a possibility. Shambler did say he was a little bit busy and maybe a little bit sick. I can't remember. I feel like every time he's participating, though, he gets sick. I believe him when he says he's sick. I don't think he's just fibbing. I have a feeling, though, that something is cursed with him or something. He's paying out some kind of karmic debt for constantly being sick. That's the only explanation I can come up with. 2-gate for Smarty. Maverick stemming across the map. We will be seeing Bio versus the Protoss. Very cool. And the first unit is a Drakodon. So honestly, this is a fine choice. The anchor at the extremity of the base is pretty cute. But I think a Drakodon will be able to push this back, unless the anchor does something kind of fancy, right? But this is a very committed play. This isn't just a forward stockade for like a faster Huracan timing or something. This is Shambler. And he be shambling. Worker fight. Not quite the same thing as Battle Worker. That's a little bit different. Now, one thing that's a little bit tricky here is how do you get them into the anchor, right? The Drakodon's going to stand on top of the spot. Oh, unless Shambler... Oh, okay. Now he's just going to use it as a distraction and kill the workers. This could be pretty good. Mason has been killed by the Scribes. Did he send any more Mavs out? Okay, he did. They're slowly arriving, but can he get to the anchor, right? Scribes need a body block. Well, Shambler's not going to really do anything with it anyway. 2 more coming in. This looks a little bit dire. We've got 3 Drakodons. That's more than the Mavericks are. I don't think this is going to quite work out. And Smarty has the same worker count as well. I mean, does this mean that Shambler is basically just even? No, because there are Drakodons, and there are not enough Mavericks to deal with them. So, anchor tactic could have been better. You know, he could have landed it over here and started attacking the workers and the combat units as well, or whatever, you know, trying to repair. Could have been a thing as well. Needs to stem that Mav to get it out of dodge, but might not be able to. I think he's just going to die, yeah. See ya. Shambler is in deep doo-doo, that's for sure. Stockade emergency wall move does get canceled afterwards. The Masons are on the high ground to try to body block here. It's a dire spot, but it's the spot that we are at. No Huracan for armor end. Smarty just going to put on a clinic with the kiting, make himself look like a little bit like Neblime. His little winky face in the name as well. Dude, he's psyching him out. This is where if he was in voice chat with Shambler, he'd be like, "What's going on, bud?" Oh no, he would say buddy. He's not Godwheat. Godwheat would say bud. A good number of Mavericks now might be able to run this down. Remember, we got more reinforcements coming. The Masons are actually kind of body blocking the stimmed Mavs at that point, so that's a bit of a struggle. Shambo's not mining with all of his workers this whole time either, so it looks like, oh wow, he's really low in workers now that he lost those guys, but he effectively lost them the entire time since they did not end up harvesting resources. I love that he just keeps making Mavericks anyway. He's like, yeah, that's fine. Should have been Zerg. You. I don't quite know what that means. Shambler is saying he should have played Zerg, or Shambler is saying Smarty should have played Zerg. Either way, we may never know, but that's the closest thing you're going to get out of a GG from this game from Shambler. So there we go. Okay, game 1 goes to Smarty. Can we just like take a shower and forget that ever happened? Real games are starting soon, I swear. Sham, wow. I think he's trying to. Maybe he was also trying to say like, "No, if you were AOT, I would have won," or something. I don't know. Like Smarty didn't win versus AOT. Who knows? AOT is in the chat. What's up, dude? Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the next round of games between the Shambler and Smarty. Apparently, Smarty rolled Protoss. It's really funny if that's the case. Oh yeah, is Jujic the admin? Jujic is the admin. There you go. Shambler is the yellow turret in the top left, and Smarty is in the bottom right as the Beaster Brown Protoss. He will be going for a gateway. We already have gas being mined, so Shambler will be harvesting Fulcrum here. Fulcrum resources. Is he going to do it forward again? Oh! Smarty plays without his glasses sometimes. That explains his color filter, where everything becomes like a weird blur. Does he mean squinting? Glaring? Yeah. Looking intensely. Fulcrum coming up here for Shambler. 2-gate start for Smarty. Pretty similar to the last game from the Protoss side of it. I don't really imagine you would change anything after that last game. Scout comes in here and it'll see not really much going on. Shambler gonna add that second Fulcrum. His base layout's always a little bit funky looking. Sometimes it'll work out. He thrives in the chaos, it seems. Godwit has been talking about a tank push. A lot of people have been talking, maybe Smarty as well. People were telling me that there was a tank push that was really good versus Protoss, that was killing a lot of Protoss, and Shambler just refused to do it. Now, that was before this game was played, so I have no idea if maybe he decides to pull it out at the last second. I'm interested in seeing what it is. Shambler going to start harvesting from the reservoir, get a little bit of extra Vespine. We'll see if Smarty decides to control that. Man, if Smarty does play this map versus Nablime, assuming he actually beats Shambler, I hope he controls that on this map too. Nablime seems to be the best out of anybody at like just taking it, and nobody challenges him. Nobody does it. Shopdog knows it's busted. He doesn't always challenge it though. Does take me back to the Derelict days. At least that stuff was kind of in the middle of the map. A little bit easier to control. Legionnaire will beat Goliath. That's pretty good. That was I didn't expect that to hit the Goliath from that distance. So Smarty just casually clears all the mines. The Vulture was just not helping during that fight. Shambler looks like he's going to think about an expansion here, but we also have enough money for Smarty to expand himself. Does he want to? I guess so. Yeah, he's sending out the... No, he decided against it. Third gate? No. No. Embassy. Okay. I mean, there's no more vultures, and he scouted that, so he doesn't need it for detection. On location is the Ministry of Shambler. Yeah, that sounds like a really bad spot. Like, you heard about Ministry of Truth. That's bad enough. Ministry of Shambler. Ooh. Slightly delayed Nexus there, but nothing really too crazy. And we will be seeing that third Fulcrum. That was what I was waiting for, is what Shambler's going to be doing after this. Because I think you do need the third Fulc. But, you know, I wouldn't mind somebody experimenting with like a Star Pad here or Stockades. Man, I wish Shopkeeper Dog did play. He would show so many cool versus Protoss moves. He knows how to win that matchup. He says it's unplayable, but he knows he knows how to win. Probably just going to fall back, not going to bother doing the Nebline Stutter Step Micro. Third gate coming. Keeps most of his units alive. Reggie in the chat asking if anyone else is getting the vibe that Shambler's locking in a little bit more. Yeah, he definitely... he had that planned for some reason. I don't know what. But he's definitely playing a standard now. Not going to go balls to the wall with that. Cyclops Man. Okay. Well, we had some people in the chat talking about Ramen building Cyclops and doing too much with that. Let's see if Shambler fares any differently. He does have his token Goliath in here as well to absorb a lot of pressure. And Cyclops will use it to great effect initially to try to get an advance. But he doesn't end up sticking to the high ground there. Little slice of high ground. Scrapyard coming. Dude, what is this building placement? Fourth Fulcrum is done. I like the little concave of Cyclops that he's got going. Artisan is starting up here and maybe earmarked to the bottom left. He got a lot of idle workers for Smarty to tend to when he can. He's copying Nebline a little bit too hard. Got him. Got him. So, the Matadors are coming. Goliath already brought down pretty low by those Dracodons. I guess if the Witness hangs around long enough and it's in the same area, it will be bopped. Like, in theory, I like Matador, but I wonder if it doesn't just kind of die a little bit too easily to kiting backwards, especially with Cyclops. Matador Cyclops is pretty good versus Zerg, but I don't know if it's very good versus Protoss. So far, it's working out okay. Shambler hasn't made too many foibles yet with his micro. Second Goliath out here as well to absorb a lot of that pressure that would normally be going on to the Cyclops themselves, so that's also helping out a lot. So yeah, he forces the Protoss back a little bit. We also have the Matadors out ready to take charge. Starpad is done, but we don't have any actual units. Remember, he's got a little bit extra Vespene this whole time because of the reservoir. Okay, Ardent Authority is coming. That's the tier 2 of choice. And he's also adding 2 more gateways. He's going to go up to 6 gate. I think Gateway Man has a pretty good shelf life versus Terran compositions that are sticking to the Fulcrum. I think even versus Phalanx, they're pretty good. I do think you need something a little bit extra on top. And Smarty's going for the Acantor. Like, defensively, that's a fine option. But I don't know that it helps you out too much trying to move versus what Shambler's been fielding. Matadors are going to be initially salved down. Reinforcements are not being sent to the front. The Dracodon's getting right on top of those Cyclops some of the time. And you can see the focus fire coming out of Shambler is working out pretty well for him initially. But he is going to get run down eventually. Those 4 Matadors could have helped out quite a bit. And even though Smarty's micro isn't as good as Nablime's, and Shambler's precision in terms of his right-clicking is a little bit better than what we've seen before as well, we are still seeing the Protoss come out on the better side of this, it looks like, because the rate of reinforcement was taking a little bit too long. The guy deployed, and then he just had to sit there and take it. Second Mason arrives, not for gas, though, for minerals. Interesting choice. 6th Fulcrum coming up. He's just producing an extra one every now and then. Ant-Seals are coming as well for shielding. Is this just Matador? Is it Matador Ant-Seal? What is he doing here? I don't think they work out super well versus the Dracodons. He'll slowly filter in some blackjacks, it looks like, but yeah, the Acantor are actually pretty good versus Matador, to be honest with you. I love the dodging that's being attempted here, but it'll get a couple more shots off. It takes so long for the Matadors to actually kill it. Now, the Draconids can finish the rest of those off because of the splash damage, and we got Zealots coming up as well. I'm just going to stop the Matadors from being able to do anything. Third base on the way now for our Protoss, just keeping the macro going. Looks like an attack was had over here. Zealot cleared the Masons, and then the Zealot got cleared by the Matador. So no more extra gas for Shambler. He goes for his third base. On location, too, and actually a little bit off location. Scribes are up here to the top right, but the Matador doesn't bother chasing them, so... Okay, interesting. About a dozen gateway units moving up there with the Witness support as well. Worker count favoring our Terran. He's boxed in up here. There's no way out. So he's going to go down instead. Zealots might be a little bit short on life here, but I don't think the Matadors are going to be able to survive this encounter exactly. They are pretty tanky. I'll give them that. Also, 10 kills on this. Admittedly, it looks like a lot of the Masons did evacuate, but some of them stuck around, so... He's going to go ahead and try to see what he can do over here. He could transfer those excess workers down to his third base. Smarty's making some pretty good moves. It has to be said. The drop on top of the catching the Matadors was a good move. Keeping his macro going behind all of his production as well. Killing a couple of workers on the way out. He can stand and fight this, I think. I don't think the Goliaths alone are going to be enough. I'm a pretty big proponent of Goliath, but I don't think this is a composition exactly. It's doing a little bit better than I thought it would. Hey, it actually forces him back with it, but I don't know. Cantor slow crawling across. Maybe fourth base soon for Smarty. Adding Positrons. I guess he wants the Positron drop. He can also use it versus the Ant Seals, but yeah, I think the Strider count is eclipsing what Goliaths alone can deal with. Zealot heckling that third base as well, and Shambler lost the worker lead in the middle of that because of the Acantor. He's trying to muscle him away, but he's losing workers in the process. Can't dedicate his units there, and now the Acantor is here to finish the job. Blows right open through those Antseal shieldings. And he's only making Goliath, man. He's got a lot of idle Masons there. He's just going to task on now. The battle workers have received the order. Eesh. I'm a little bit surprised that Shambler went from, like, mostly Cyclops to pure Matador and now pure Goliath? The Zealots come out there. No GG is called. Shambler has just been 2-0'd so far, and Smarty had to play standard versus him and still just walked away with it. It was a little bit too easy, wasn't it? I guess. We're going to be seeing some more moves come out from Smarty in this series than we thought. Show ain't over. We could still be in the way for a reverse sweep. Shambler has done it before versus lower seeded opposition. Let's see what happens behind Game 3. Looking a little rough for Sham. Hopefully he's able to bounce back and give a good accounting of himself. Got more games to play. So let's do it. Last chance for Shambler here. He needs to be flawless. 3 games in a row. Wins all of them if he wants to face his battle brother of Neblime in the next round. And of course he does. He is our... I actually don't know what color this is. Is this Celadon? Emerald. Emerald Terran in the top right. And Smarty is the... I'm going to say dark... No, wait. Not dark spring green. What color is this? Maybe it is dark spring green. It was forest. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that one. So we got green versus green. Dark versus light. Shambler going for a stockade. He is the light of all Terrans. Beautiful. I do want to see a little bit more flexibility from Shambler. The problem with going for that really silly build in Game 1 is that I can see the vision. I can see where it can be useful. But Smarty went for... Like, maybe he was thinking Smarty would go for, like, a Legionnaire and the Mavericks would be able to out-DPS him. Instead, he went for a Drakon, and that just immediately, like, countered a lot of what Shambler was doing there to try to build up a force with the Mavericks. Scribe Scout coming in. This map does have those middle temples here. We'll see if Smarty makes use of them. But right about now, it's just going to be the Mav show. The problem with going for Game 1, such an aggressive strat that can fall right on its face and lose you the game almost immediately, is that you don't have as much runway as you think, you know? And it can be useful. Like we saw Cannoli 6-pool Ramen successfully in Game 1 of his series. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't always... that you should never consider going for an aggressive strategy in Game 1 of a best of 5. But a best of 5 can be a long affair, as we saw in TVTs, you know, in the last tribunal that we had. It can also be a very short one. So Shambler is going to need to dig deep, and I believe that the bio can catch Protosses off guard. But when he scouts the 2 stockades so early, he can just make a bunch of Draconins. You can see him looking around to see if the same antics from Game 1 are going to happen. Not quite. Legionnaire confirming nothing in the natural. Only got a few Mavericks here, so... I'm going to just run by that guy. But there's 2 Draconins, and we will have another one pretty soon. See what he can do. I feel like Draconins are just a little bit too powerful here for what's being attempted. Needs to restim pretty soon. Yeah, Shambler's he's got that timing down, but yeah, he split damage a little bit, and all of his Mavs have just been gunned down, defeated. He didn't even catch this guy in the middle mining. He's a thief stealing minerals from the middle of the map. The mineral roll. Surely an anchor? No, just more stockade. A lot of money in the bank for Shambler, actually, during this whole time. He hasn't harvested any Vespene. Ministry. There's a little bit of confidence in that. I mean, he's got cliff advantage. He's got a lot of Mavs. I don't think he's going to get run over, but I'd be a little bit spooked about a, Mass Gateway sort of response. And it does look like Smarty's planning for a fast Ardent, so could be Positron, more likely a Cantor. We saw the drop get off to some really good stuff last time around, and look at that. He drops the Embassy right below the Nexus. A Cantor drop is incoming, and honestly, I wouldn't mind dropping it right here and using the Envoy for range, for vision up the ramp, and then just shooting the Mavericks down with the Cantor from the low ground. I think that would be good enough, Stockade number 5 on the way. We're going to see a lot of Stockade units this time around, really doubling it down on the bio. And only now is Vespene starting to get added into it. Cyprian's coming out. I like it. We saw Aeud lose his Protoss to Hit 'em Up's Terran. And Hit 'em Up just made basically he made more units than just Cyprian. It was like Clerics a little bit and a lot of Mavs, but some Harakans, of course. But he was mostly Cyprian, man, and he just shellacked him. So would love to see what happens if Shambler can channel a little bit of that Leviathan energy. Legionnaire will be cut down to size as the Cyprians announce themselves. I like the little gold trim on their guns. I do think that adds something to their profile. There's a recent addition from Solstice, like a couple months ago. Maybe even more recently than that, honestly. Time bleeds into itself. Now, that first a Cantor is here, but no Envoy. I'm panning around to see. Nexus is pretty late. Envoy coming now. There's some advantages here for Shambler. He has presence at the big ramp into his sort of the natural and third fork. Zealot walks in here and will be gunned down. That should give Smarty some safety, but he has to watch out for drops. That's sort of what he's worried about. If Cyprian drops come in and wipe his mineral line, he could be pretty down and out. Some move out with some power here. So the Envoy's done. I'm not quite sure where it is. Right? Is it? No, I guess not. Maybe it got canceled. The Acantor's here. So, oh boy. The Mavericks are going to try to come in here, and the Acantor will shut it down pretty quickly, I feel like. Oh, there it is. He found it. If he had just gotten down that Acantor immediately inside the Envoy, this could have been a very different look. You can see that the Mavericks are starting to do some pretty good damage to the Drax, but Cyprians were not with the army. The Mavericks went ahead, and the Cyprians take a lot longer to move. Gets a shot off. Gonna need a little bit more. Chancy micro, man. It's really, really easy to lose the Envoy there if there's any focus fire from the Terran. Another Acantor gets queued up. Meanwhile, we got a lot more Cyprians, and the second base is starting to pay out dividends for Shambler. Worker count is only a little bit above Smarty, though. Seems like the Protoss is still in a fine position. Getting all this extra money from the middle, too. Unbelievable. Shambler is finding it difficult to live up to the reputation of the favorite here. But maybe the Cyprians can carry him to victory. He might remember that weekend wage where Hit 'em Up did win versus Protoss. Cantor unloads at the third base. Nothing there to receive it initially. One Cyprian was left behind to guard the common third. I haven't actually seen people take 6 or 12 on this map, but a lot of people will protect it, you know, guard it with a single base, single unit at the base. Oh dear. Doesn't unload. Well, that was a gift over there. Shambler should feel pretty good about that. Crucible will empower the 3 gates. I don't think it's going to reach the Arden. If it was one tile over, it probably would. We're going to see what else is built around it. More gateways, of course. I guess if you get a lot of zealots, which Smarty has been making, it's going to be pretty hard for this Huracanless army to do much, to deal with these gateway units. And Acantor is also situationally a pretty good versus the Huracan. So I can kind of understand why Shambler has opted to not go for it. Ooh, this is a cheeky little move. Forcing an evacuation already. He moves over to the third base. The witnesses are seeing all this, by the way. Nice initial work there. That could have been better. 3 dead Masons. Nice dodge. Automatic dodge. Oh dear. Yeah, get him. Nope. No. Try again. You targeted the wrong unit. There you go. By the way, this whole time, Smarty has all those Cyprians at the ramp that he could be using, and now he's going to go ahead and use them. Down it will go. Finally. His army is in position, but I don't think it's going to get through 3 Acantors. Let's watch together and find out, because those Cyprians are very clumped up. Doesn't look like he really doesn't want to do this. It's got him kind of boxed in. Despite all those worker casualties, it's not like Smarty can expand from this position. He's going to try to, and he skips over this spot, and he's going to go. He's going to go to 6 and then get shot by the Cyprian, isn't he? I love it. Hilarious. He doesn't lose it, so there's that. Why doesn't he just expand with this guy, you know? Build an Nexus at, I don't know. Yeah, there you go. That's so silly. Cantors are starting to get some nice shots off. 4 Cyprians going down. No real casualties on the other side. Shambler can't dance to this tune. He's got to get a ticket back home. Huracans absorb the initial blast, but there's so many Acantors now that I don't really think you can fix this by going for something on the ground aside from Phalanx, which, let's admit, you know, Shambler is capable of doing but far away from right now. He would need to make the pivot almost immediately. And after harvesting, what is that? 600 or 820 minerals, that scribe will be finally defeated. Good initial volley there of the Cyprians showing their form versus the Zealots. But I worry that the tempo is starting to fade. I mean, Shambler has all these... You know, he's achieved worker parity again. He's got that extra base. But what's he doing with it? He's just continuing to make Cyprians, more or less, versus a Cantors. We were talking about that flexibility that it felt like Shambler was lacking at the end of Game 2, where he had gone from, like, mass this to mass that to mass the other thing. Cosmonarchy is a game about composition, so let's see what the vision is here as he adds more stockades to his third base. One thing that's underrated about Shambler that goes overlooked when people assess his skill set, he's pretty good about just building more production all over the place. And that's got a different feel to it than just building production inside your main base. You can reinforce at your extra bases, you can produce units locally, you can have units kind of ambiently moving across the map from different angles. You're more likely to catch little insertion squads or stuff like this. Of course, right now it's not happening, but it is something that is a real deal. Vestry on the way for Shambler. He wants the Cleric, maybe the Shaman. Haven't had a chance to see Tier 2 from him yet. Cantor gets scooped up there and now goes for the kind of logical place you would expect it to go, but there are no units over here to defend just yet. Man. So Smarty's investing a lot of resources into this, but Shambler still has a pretty big worker advantage despite that. Gonna go down with the ship here. Not bad. Brings it back, you know. Could have maybe gotten another shot off there. That would have been so juicy. I didn't even think about that. I was like, yeah, he's just going to lose the Acantor without getting any more kills. He could have, dude. That could have been huge. With a capital U. The weirdest third base of all time is being taken on this map, but then we've got a more standard extra base to be taken. And it looks like bottom right might be up next. More stockades have been added as mentioned. We got clerics coming out. I mean, the Unitary Union is on the way. If we get architects or Unars here, what do you even do against that? What do you do against it as it is? Look at all the Acantors. He's got 13 of the things, just setting off smart bombs on top of all of the bio. First couple Harakans to see the light of day, see a darkness instead pretty quickly. Black eye onto the Witness due to the Cyprian splash damage. But now the Zealots start to move on in. I don't think you need that high ground vision through the air units anymore. I think you got enough Zealots. And the Harakans are all dead, so what are you going to do about that? Still so many Acantors. The Zealots are not dying yet. And oh my god, don't even look at that. Oh, goodness. There's too many, man. There are way too many. How do you do? Oh, cleaved right down the middle. It's an explosion that is worth art. That's for sure. But that is also what looks to be a wrap. Bio was not the saving grace this day. Every unit getting pulled, the boys getting pulled. He at least gets to look at a bunch of gore before he is eliminated from the tournament. The Shambler will not be meeting Neblime in the semifinal. It will be Smarty Cakes instead, with all of his Acantor glory. Will we get a GG though? Okay. Excellent. What a beautiful display. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a 3-0 for Smarty. A full sweep, a clean sweep. And I hope you have enjoyed. An excellent time done, had by all, except for fans of the Shambler. I pour one out for you. And that will be that for this little jaunt. We've got our semifinals locked in. Doglived will take on Godwheat, and we have none other than Neblime taking on Smarty Cake. So mirrors, Ascozi versus Ascozi and Protoss versus Protoss. At the end of it, we'll have an Ascozi versus Protoss grand final. I'm excited, guys. GG. I see. He threw in the towel game 3. All right. Yeah, I think basically what seemed to happen is Jujic didn't bother sending me the replays himself, right? He just told me to download them off of Replay Kraken. And he gave me the order, but it doesn't seem like they were accurate. Maybe I did something wrong at that point. But, yeah, I think, match admins are just going to have to send me the replays from their autosave folder instead of whatever this was. That didn't work out very well because we had 2 different series where they were broken. I will fix that going into our next couple casts. And like I said, that'll be around like 11 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. I'll see you guys in about 12 hours from now, basically. We'll be casting the semifinal, semifinal number 1. Semifinal number 2 was already cast, so I already have the result for that one tabulated. And then we will watch the grand final after all that is said and done. So I'll see you guys for that then. GG's, and thanks to everybody who hung out and talked some shop. Godweep for donating. Appreciate very much. We'll see you then. Peace.